Today on CityCast Portland, we're looking into a new age spirituality group that's been raising eyebrows down in Ashland and how they fit into Oregon's strange propensity for attracting religious cults. Plus, we'll take a look at the worst reviews of some of Portland's best karaoke spots. Joining me on this midweek news roundup is our very own producer, Giulia Fiaoni. It's Tuesday, May 14th. I'm John Notarianni, in for Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome to the midweek microdose of news, catching you up on a few of the stories you might have missed over the last week or over the weekend. I'm John Notarianni. I'm the executive producer of CityCast Portland, and our producer, Giulia, is here with us today.
Good morning.
Hey, how was your weekend? I feel like we had our first real beautiful summery weekend.
Yes, I had so much fun. I went to the St. John's Bazaar.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
I was there. Where were you?
I was kind of everywhere. I was jumping around to the two stages, checking out the bands. And then at one point I checked out this, it was like some vegan Mexican restaurant. I got some margaritas with a friend and some tacos. It was really good.
That's so funny. Did you see Claudia?
No,
Claudia
I didn't
was
see
there too,
either of you.
allegedly. I didn't see
so
Claudia, but
funny.
she said she was there. Yeah, I live right off of the parade route. So I had some friends over and we watched the parade and then we went down to the bazaar. It was so much fun. It was great.
I was looking for the both of you and didn't see you, which is so funny, but it was such a blast.
Yeah, I saw some CityCast fans there as well. I met Babs, who's a frequent CityCast commenter and emailer. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so that was my Saturday. Then Sunday, I went on a long bike ride as well.
Yeah, I honestly just spent the weekend hanging out at parks for the most part. So just spending time outside, it was really nice.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But now we're back at work, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, let's get into the story that we're looking into today. This is a fun one. And a weird one. This is all about Twin Ray, which is a spiritual group that moved from California to Ashland, Oregon back in 2020. This is mostly based on the really wonderful reporting of Leah Satil with OPB, but also some work from Bay Schofield at Guru magazine. So, Twin Ray. They claim that they are ancient arts backed by modern science. The leaders say they brought a healing technology from the future called Christic energy. And this is a quote, "It's a newly manifested technology that has been brought from a future timeline of Earth's golden age." Which, that makes sense to me, right?
Duh. I'm sold.
So they largely exist online, right? And they hold online classes and mentorship programs over Zoom, but they also do these in-person retreats, largely at this giant $2.6 million, 11,000 square foot gated home that they bought in the Ashland area. And a big part of this is what they call elixir ceremonies, where people take some sort of unknown psychedelic substance. There's all these reports from people who've taken part in them. It sounds really intense, and it sounds like it's bringing in a lot of money. One person reported spending $17,000 on a year-long program. Other followers have spent close to $100,000 with this group, they claim. And, they've reported $1.9 million in revenue in 2021, according to some reports that have been filed. So this isn't small potatoes. This is a big project. And in addition to that 11,000 square foot home, they also have a storefront in downtown Ashland. It opened in 2022. They sell things like crystals and ceremonial teas and supplements. They sell gold-flecked water for $111. There's a lot of skepticism about this group. Before I go on, Giulia, you also read through this reporting. What caught your attention?
Yeah, the thing that I got stuck on was a lot of the concerns of the locals. So many people are suspicious of this storefront and the organization as a whole, and they're just seeing a lot of red flags. First off, I think the most hilarious detail is just how many times the leaders have changed their names and their identities in order to be these convincing divine creatures that are leading this group.
Are you talking about the leaders Akasha Sananda and Miyananda Maitreya Shekina?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that because I had to practice that many times before we started the recording.
Just to give you an example of why that is such a red flag is I'll talk a little bit about one of them. They used to go by Mia Therese, and she's from Ohio. But all of a sudden, recently, she's taken on this British accent out of nowhere. Although there is no reason why she should be speaking in a British accent. Her partner who she's doing this with is from Australia. So sometimes
of all the things you're skeptical about, it's the accent. That's the part where you're like, wait a minute. It's not about the divine healing or reconstituting of DNA. It's like, she didn't used to have that accent. Something's fishy here.
It cracks me up because I think that's where people lean in. They see how fishy their identities are just to start, and then everything else unravels from there. But the two of them are claiming at this point to be the second coming of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. So they're really setting the bar high when they're introducing themselves to the community. And from there are just a lot of shady details on the business end. One example is just their tax paperwork claiming more than $1 million in contributions in 2021 and 22, because they're a, quote, non-denominational religious organization whose purpose is divinely inspired holistic services. But Leah also found that there is an LLC called, quote, Twin Ray Ventures that is registered to an office building in Wyoming that also represents over 53,000 other businesses.
A very crowded office building, yeah.
Yes. Keep in mind that this place cannot host 53,000 other businesses if you weren't already keen to that detail. But it's run by a company called Registered Agents, Inc., and they're tied to white nationalist and QAnon websites. So that alone already has people's ears perked up. But the thing that I think is of most concern for a lot of locals is the health advice that these two are putting out there in their ceremonies and these products that you can buy, some of them claiming that they can actually cure and prevent cancer. And in a lot of cases, just not knowing what's in the ingredients of these ceremonial teas. So you're having like dozens of people at these ceremonies taking these supplements all at once, not knowing the effects. And from the people that have actually gone and attended these ceremonies, they can leave feeling traumatized because the psychedelic impacts are so intense and they aren't given proper warning as to what the experience is going to be like, that coming out the other end, it turns out to not be so much of a religious healing experience, but something that is actually pretty damaging. This is coming from people who were actually there. But it's a combination of that and also being roped into these teaching classes where they'll essentially be stuck online for sometimes hours at a time learning about astrology or talking through their problems at as high of a rate as $1,300 an hour, speaking with the two leaders. And these people are oftentimes sleep deprived, so they're not in a healthy state of mind to be having these kinds of conversations, and through the process becoming increasingly exhausted. So there's not a lot of mental clarity there. So lots to pull apart from people who are suspicious from the outside and also who have gone through it themselves.
Yeah. I mean, and just the amount of money that some people are putting into this from their personal savings. I mean, there's reports of people giving $30,000, $80,000. There's even, one report of somebody who might have spent as much of $150,000 of their money into this organization, which that part of it and just the way that they have set up shop in downtown Ashland, it just feels so reminiscent of what happened with the Rajneesh movement in Wasco County in the 80s, I mean, I think most of us know this history at this point. If you haven't seen the Wild Wild Country documentary on Netflix, absolutely check it out. But it was this group that set up a sort of spiritual movement in, I guess you could say, Central Oregon, sort of the Dalles area, and basically tried to take over this small community completely. I mean, it was a really, really dramatic situation. And it's just so wild thinking about how many times we've seen groups like this in Oregon, Something that hadn't been top of mind for me was like, you remember the Heaven's Gate cult, back in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
They were also started in Oregon, which is something that Leah points out in the article. And Leah went to a professor to sort of be like, what is it about Oregon that is bringing these groups to our region? Like, why do we have this lineage? And she talked with Marion Goldman at University of Oregon and had 2 points that I thought were really interesting and make a lot of sense. One, like, land in Oregon is still relatively cheap, especially in rural areas. And we are sort of well known for like just not being like deeply religious as a culture, and that sort of lack of religious fervor compared to a lot of the rest of the country makes this sort of part of the country really attractive to people who are looking for, you know, a sort of spiritual life that's outside of maybe the norm of modern society.
Yeah. And I will say, this is kind of funny, but I try to put myself in the minds of people who are really into what Twin Ray is doing. So I, just for research, so I went online and looked at one of their meditation videos. And this was like late in the evening on Friday, just got off work. And I put on one of their meditation videos and just got a sense of who these people were. And they do have really calming voices, so much so that I actually fell asleep to their meditation video. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what is happening here?
Did we almost lose you, Giulia?
You almost
in
lost me,
preparation
John.
for this story, did you almost just like pack everything up and take a bus to Ashland?
I almost was not here today, so it was a close call.
I mean, like, it's easy to joke about and it's easy to be concerned about, but like, I do think, you know, like, we all live in Portland. I think a lot of people do come here because we're looking for a different type of life than like where maybe we grew up. I think that like all sorts of people flock to this region for something that feels unique and something that feels different. So like, you know, while it can be concerning when you see groups like this popping up and like you don't really know what's going on, it's like, yeah, I definitely know people who are, you know, maybe 6 steps away from it, but like have a similar sort of interest in something that is different and that feels special and that feels unique to them.
Yeah, it's not completely far-fetched. And I think one of the things that Leah included in her reporting was a quote from someone who had gone through it and was just reflecting on their experience. And this is kind of where I left off, and feeling pretty sad for people who end up in situations like this. And they had pointed out that, yes, it may have costed them tens of thousands of dollars to go through this, but a lot of people who can't afford it are actually paying with free labor, where the leaders are expecting them to work at the shop for free, and a lot of times work for them in their home, kind of tending to their lives for free. And the quote was, "I paid with my money, but others are paying with their lives," which is really sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say I feel like we're going to see more about this group coming out soon. There have been a couple instances where, in one case, one of the people that actually left the group claimed that they were berated for 45 minutes and questioned why they were leaving. And also people who are just commenting on the group generally. There was one person in Oregon who posted a TikTok pulling the group apart, and they were reached by one of their lawyers saying, hey, take this down. We're investigating you and your family. So I think the more and more that people close in and start to criticize them, the more and more they're going to react, and we'll start to hear more about what this group is really about.
Well, there's a bunch of like really incredible details in this story. And Leah Satil is just such a great reporter. I don't know if you've seen any of her other work, Giulia, but she did this really great podcast with OPB several years ago about the Bundy family. That's the group that sort of orchestrated the Malheur Wildlife Refuge takeover back in 2016. It's called Bundyville. There's like 2 seasons of that podcast that are like, I think, essential listening for anybody who lives in this part of the country. So definitely like check that out if you haven't already. Well, yeah, thanks, Giulia.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I understand you've got a bit of a test for me.
Oh, we're doing 1-star reviews.
All right. All right, Giulia, we are doing 1-star reviews for people who have not had the pleasure of experiencing one of these yet. What's this all about?
So I have picked 3 local karaoke bars, and I'm going to read to you 3 different reviews from each of these spots that are very negative, many of them 1 star. And you're going to try to guess what these places are based off of what these people have to say about them.
Okay. And the idea is like they're well-known spots, right?
Well-known spots.
And they're good spots. They're spots that we can be like, no, these places rock. So we're not slamming them.
No. These are actually fun places that I go to pretty regularly, but these people have some pretty strong things to say about them.
They did not have a good time, right?
Didn't have a good time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to see if I can guess. What do you got?
Spot number 1. Not trying to kill the vibe at the current popping bar, but the karaoke is so loud, I don't know how they've okayed a small dog in here. Personally, fighting the urge to confront owners over the noise level.
Okay, there was a lot going on there. The dog caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So there's a dog in the bar is the point.
And it's so loud, it's unbearable.
I mean, it's a karaoke bar. It can be loud. But like a dog?
Do you have a first
no
guess?
Idea.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could just like take a stab in the dark. There's that place on Broadway, Capitol Bar. Is that what we're talking about?
No. Not Capitol Bar.
I mean, it could be anything at this point.
Let me give you another review for this spot.
Mm-hmm.
Step 1, get blackout drunk.
Okay.
Step 2, sing karaoke till 2:30 in the morning. Step 3, after your song is over, spill out onto the sidewalk while still drunkenly singing at the top of your lungs. All of the people who live in the residences surrounding this wonderful establishment would much rather listen to your slurred rendition of blank instead of sleeping. Be sure to top the night off by getting into a screaming match with another drunken bro passing by. They do have a nice back patio, though.
Okay. Oh my gosh. There's a lot more detail in that one. It's in a neighborhood. It has a back patio.
A nice one.
A karaoke bar with a nice back patio? I don't know. I'm going to have to go for another clue. I don't know if I'm going to get this one.
I have one more.
Yeah.
The staff can be rude there. Asked for some napkins, and one of the bartenders gave me a nasty look and threw a rag at me. Karaoke there is cool, though.
I mean, that doesn't help, but like, God bless that bartender.
Okay, do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah, I give up.
21st Avenue Kitchen and Bar.
Oh, of course it's that spot. They do have a nice... I've talked about that on the show before, haven't I? And you would like spill out onto the street and annoy people there. Yeah.
And there would be a dog and it would be too loud. It's just... It's okay. On to the next one.
0 for 1.
Okay. This is another Google review for a different place. Food was not good and the service was poor, even though it was very slow Sunday evening. But their song selection is the best I have ever seen by far, and the sound system is fantastic. So we'll definitely be back. We will just eat elsewhere first next time.
Best song selection. To me, that feels like Baby Ketten.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it.
That's too bad about the food, though. But yeah. I mean, of course, their song selection is the best. Is there anything else from Baby Ketten that you wanna flag?
So there's this one, 2 stars, and all it said was, "This place stinks." So didn't think that one would be very helpful. But
which, like, it's a karaoke bar. I can imagine it getting a little bit funky in there.
Yeah, and 2 stars is kind of funny, where it's like they still enjoyed themselves enough. But
it wasn't that bad. But
okay, last one. This place used to be okay, but was always kind of crusty and run down, and not really in a cute way. It's so crowded on the weekends that it's miserable standing in line for a drink. Signing up for karaoke can take like a 3-hour wait. The last time I got dragged there, I tried to warn my friends, and they left with me agreeing.
Again, this could be so many karaoke bars in town.
Okay, let me give you this next one.
Let me just take a shot.
Let
me see if I can like just bank a shot. Is it Chopsticks?
Not Chopsticks.
Not Chopsticks.
Okay. Not my scene. Tacky decor and, well, everything is tacky. But that is their niche. Way too loud for a karaoke bar, like turn down the mic volume a little bit if they suck, ? Drinks apparently used to be very strong, but not so much now.
If everything is tacky, I imagine that's the Alibi, right?
Ding, ding, ding. You got it. So I have to read you this last one, though, because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So this last review is, Good food and great atmosphere. Met a gorgeous woman there and was getting ready to go back to her place with her when my girlfriend called the bar. They called the place the Alibi, but they certainly didn't give me one. There's no way that's real.
We've done a couple of these on the show, Giulia, and I think usually when we do a set of 1-star reviews, it's sort of like, oh, that does sound like it stinks. Most of these things are like, yeah, of course it was really loud. Like,
Because
yeah,
it's a karaoke bar.
of course, like the drinks were sort of whatever. Like all of these things are still pluses about these spots.
These people just don't like karaoke bars is what
They
it
just
is.
don't want to be in a karaoke bar. Yeah. So of these karaoke bars, what would you default to?
Oh, like which one would I go to?
Yeah.
Probably the Alibi. I really like that place. And I always find myself there after already spending the day doing something else. Like typically I'll hang out at Mox Crest Park or the Bluffs and then end up at the Alibi. So I always have very sweet memories of that place.
Oh, so are you one of the people that's like spilling out onto the street drunk, screaming at your friends, a la the crowd at some of the other karaoke bars? Is that you, Giulia?
I will never claim to be that person.
I know I've seen you there before. All right. Well, thank you so much for the test. I got 2 out of 3. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending Monday morning with me. And 4 more days until the karaoke part of the week starts up.
Thanks, John. I'll see you later.
That's all for us today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend about it or leave us a rating or a review. We're going to be back tomorrow morning with much more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.